You did not arrive here by distraction. At some point, your attention slowed down and stayed, as if something had interrupted the automatic flow of the day. It was not a fully conscious decision, it was a silent recognition. Carl Jung said that there are moments when the psyche and the external world intersect, carrying meaning even before any explanation, and that is exactly where you are now. Jung also stated that all real transformation involves pain, but almost no one understands what that pain truly means, nor why it appears precisely when change begins to become inevitable. Most people try to escape this discomfort, believing that something has gone wrong, and that is how the process breaks. Throughout this video, you will understand why this unease arises, how it operates within the mind and the body, and, most importantly, at the end, I will show you how to move through this phase without allowing the pain to sabotage the progress that has already begun within you. What you feel now, this strange mixture of fatigue, restlessness, curiosity, and recognition, is not random. It is the body sensing a transition. It is the nervous system entering a different state. Even if you do not notice, your breathing has changed. Your focus has shifted. Your thoughts are not racing in the same way. Your cells are reorganizing electrical and chemical signals as if an old pattern were being dismantled and another, still undefined, were trying to emerge. This is not an error. It is a process. There is a version of you, projected in time, that has already crossed what weighs on you today. This version does not live in the future as imagination, but as active potential. It exists as a field, as information, as direction, and now it is trying to communicate. The discomfort you feel does not come from the present. It comes from the friction between who you were trained to be and who you are about to become. The old self does not disappear quietly. It resists. It defends itself. It clings to an identity built through pain, because even familiar pain feels safer than the unknown. That is why you feel tired. It is not laziness. It is not a lack of motivation. It is grief. What is dying within you is not weakness. It is an entire narrative, a set of patterns that kept you alive, but not whole. Moving forward hurts because it requires letting go of being recognized for what you no longer are. Before continuing, there is a symbolic gesture that matters. When you write a word with intention, you anchor an inner decision in the external world. Anastasis is not just a sound. It is an archetype. It means rising from one's own ashes. It means recognizing that something in you survived even when everything seemed to collapse. Each time this word is written, not as performance, but as felt truth, a pact is formed. The pact not to fall asleep again after beginning to awaken. Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making conscious what was pushed into the shadows. And this point is often misunderstood. Many believe that looking at one's own darkness means sinking into it, when in fact it is exactly the opposite. The shadow only dominates while it remains unconscious. When you begin to observe it, it loses the power to direct you from behind. What once seemed like an internal enemy begins to reveal its true function: old protection, adaptation, emotional survival. Nothing in you emerged without reason. Even the patterns that sabotage you today were at some point strategies to stay alive. The problem is that what was useful in the past becomes a prison when the context changes. The psyche does not automatically update its mechanisms. It repeats what once worked, even if today it costs too much. That is why you react automatically, fall into the same cycles, and feel emotions disproportionate to small situations. This is not weakness. It is emotional memory trying to remain relevant. And the first step of true transformation is not eliminating these patterns, but listening to them. When you begin to observe your reactions instead of identifying with them, something quietly changes. You realize that you are not the anger, not the fear, not the anxiety. You are the space that perceives all of this happening. Jung called this movement a shift in the center of consciousness. The ego stops being the absolute commander and becomes observed. This moment is subtle, but powerful. It is when you stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to show me?" Resistance arises exactly here, because looking inward requires slowing down, silence, and brutal honesty. It requires admitting truths the ego has avoided for years. It requires recognizing that some pain did not come from outside, but from choices made to please, to adapt, to not lose belonging. The shadow holds everything you had to hide in order to remain accepted. And when it begins to surface, it does not appear as a monster, it appears as discomfort, confusion, irritation without a clear cause. This is the point where many people abandon the process. They confuse awareness with suffering. They believe something has gone wrong because emotions become more intense. But Jung explained that when the light of consciousness increases, everything that was hidden becomes visible not to punish, but to be integrated. Increased discomfort is not a sign of regression. It is a sign of access. You are seeing what once controlled you in the dark. There is a phase in which you begin to perceive patterns with unsettling clarity. You see how you repeat behaviors, choose the same dynamics, react in the same way to frustration. This can generate shame, guilt, or self-criticism. But this reaction is also part of the ego trying to maintain control. True awareness does not judge, it observes, because judgment creates resistance, and resistance keeps the cycle active. When you observe without fighting, the nervous system begins to regulate. Biology responds to internal safety. The body understands it no longer needs to remain in constant defense mode. Breathing deepens, heart rhythm organizes, thoughts lose urgency. Not because problems disappear, but because you are no longer confusing yourself with them. This state of presence is not spiritual ecstasy. It is grounding. It is inhabiting your own body without escape. At this stage, something curious happens. Old emotions begin to surface without an apparent reason. Ancient sadness, forgotten fears, fragmented memories. This does not mean you are moving backward. It means the unconscious has perceived enough space to release what was held. Unprocessed emotions do not disappear with time, they are stored. And when they finally find a safe field, they rise to be felt and dissolved. Jung stated that what is not lived consciously manifests as fate. What you avoid feeling, you end up living repeatedly in the form of external circumstances. That is why facing internal emotions directly alters the course of external life. This is not mysticism, it is psychic coherence. When energy is no longer fragmented between repression and control, it reorganizes toward natural growth. This integration does not happen all at once. It happens in layers. You recognize one pattern, integrate one aspect, and soon another emerges. Not because the process is endless, but because the psyche is deep. Each integrated layer releases vital energy. You begin to feel more clarity, more vitality, more presence. Not euphoric happiness, but quiet stability. A sense of being whole, even without definitive answers. This is where many beliefs begin to fall away. The idea that you must constantly be productive. The notion that value comes from performance. The need for external validation. These structures begin to feel artificial, heavy, incompatible with the internal state forming. Not because someone convinced you, but because you feel in your body that something no longer fits. Truth does not need to be defended when it is felt. This process also alters your relationship with time. Urgency diminishes. Anxiety about the future weakens. You understand that nothing needs to be forced, that what is coherent manifests at the right rhythm. Jung said that the soul has its own time, and that trying to rush transformation is a subtle form of resistance. The ego wants to arrive somewhere. The soul wants to integrate the path. When you accept not knowing exactly who you are becoming, something opens. The void stops being frightening. Silence stops being uncomfortable. you begin to realize that identity is not fixed, it is movement, and that clinging to rigid definitions is what generates suffering. Individuation does not create an idealized version of you. It removes the masks that are no longer necessary. This stage is profoundly solitary, even when you are surrounded by people, because no one can cross it for you. There is no manual, no shortcut, no external approval that replaces direct experience. And this solitude is not abandonment, it is maturation. It is the space where emotional dependency dissolves and internal responsibility begins to form. You begin to realize that many past choices were made to avoid immediate discomfort, not to honor inner truth. And this realization hurts, but along with the pain comes freedom, because what is seen no longer needs to be unconsciously repeated. You cannot change what you do not recognize, but everything that is recognized loses the power to repeat automatically. The integrated shadow does not disappear. It transforms into resource. Anger becomes boundary. Fear becomes intuition. Sadness becomes depth. Ambition becomes direction. Nothing is wasted. If what I'm saying makes sense to you, and you feel ready to deepen this experience, I've left a more complete material in the pinned comment. You don't need to look at it now. Just remember it when the time feels right. The biggest mistake is thinking the signs come from the outside. If this video made sense to you, it's not a coincidence. Subscribe now, because the next messages arrive exactly when you need to hear them. Jung saw the psyche as an intelligent system, not something to be fixed. Every aspect has a function. Transformation does not eliminate parts, it reorganizes the whole. And that is exactly why this process is not comfortable, because it dismantles identities built with effort. It questions stories you have told yourself for years. It removes justifications, but in exchange, it offers something far more stable: internal coherence. When you no longer need to fight yourself, the energy once spent on conflict becomes available for creation. You begin to act differently without conscious effort. Choices change, priorities change. What once seemed essential loses importance. What was once ignored gains value. Not because you decided rationally, but because the center from which you act has shifted. And when the center shifts, life reorganizes itself around it. This is the true meaning of bringing darkness into consciousness. It is not diving into suffering. It is reclaiming lost parts of yourself. It is stopping the waste of energy maintaining characters. It is allowing life to flow from a truer place. And when this begins to happen, the external world inevitably responds not as reward, but as resonance. Perhaps you have noticed that the world has become louder, that people have drifted away, that conversations have lost meaning, that places once comfortable now feel strange. This does not mean you are broken. It means your frequency has changed. And when frequency changes, what does not resonate dissolves. Every metamorphosis involves pain, because every metamorphosis involves loss of form. You did not arrive here out of superficial curiosity. You arrived because an older, clearer, more whole part of you decided that now was the time. Something within you grew tired of repeating the same script. And when that happens, the universe does not respond with clear answers. It responds with experiences that push you beyond the known. Listen carefully. The future is not trying to reach you as a promise. It is trying to pass through you as a process. Every word that resonates, every inner image that forms, every bodily sensation acts as a coordinate. The field responds when identity changes, not when desire is verbalized. What you called bad luck, coincidence, or crisis is, in fact, forced alignment. You learn to believe that change happens when something external resolves, when money arrives, when someone recognizes you, when stability appears. But this is inverted. Nothing outside reorganizes until something inside collapses first. Transformation is always preceded by a symbolic death. And this is not poetic metaphor. It is biology. Your brain was not designed for happiness. It was designed for survival. It prefers the familiar, even when it hurts. That is why fear arises when you are about to cross a real threshold. Fear does not appear to protect you from error, it appears to protect the old identity. It says, "Wait, this is not the moment. You are not ready." But this voice does not come from the soul. It comes from the pattern that knows it is about to lose control. Jung observed that when individuation begins, life presents broken mirrors. Relationships collapse, jobs lose meaning, structures fail. The ego calls this destruction. The psyche calls it preparation. The caterpillar does not understand the cocoon, but without dissolution, there are no wings. This suspended state you feel is not punishment. It is interval, the space between two identities. The universe places you between two doors. One leads back to the familiar, safe, predictable. The other leads to fertile emptiness where the new form has no name yet. The fatal mistake is interpreting fear as a sign to retreat, when in truth, fear is confirmation that you have come too close to the truth to keep pretending. As long as you obey the old script, everything repeats. The same people, the same endings, the same frustrations. But there is an exact point at which the soul grows tired of surviving. A silent instant in which you admit, "I cannot continue being this version." This is the quantum point of inflection. From there, the field begins to respond. Videos, books, encounters, intuitions appear not by chance, but by resonance. You may feel on the verge of collapse, but you are on the verge of expansion. Chaos indicates that the old structure can no longer sustain the current frequency. The body translates this as fatigue, the mind as doubt, the soul as birth. And there is a silent law. Before alignment comes disorder. Before clarity, contraction. Before birth, pressure. The old self will not leave without a fight. It uses memories, distractions, temptations, not to punish you, but to survive. Now you know, this noise is not a warning, it is confirmation. Chaos is the contraction before birth. And if you do not flee, if you remain, if you breathe within the discomfort, the field will have no choice but to reorganize around the new coherence you are beginning to sustain. This is not empty motivation. It is neurobiological reorganization. Old synapses dissolve. New connections form. Your electromagnetic field alters its signature. You are literally becoming another pattern of information. That is why it hurts. That is why it confuses. But you did not come to survive. You came to evolve. For years you were told that change meant adding new habits, new labels, new techniques, new idealized versions. But real transformation does not add. It subtracts. It does not build one identity on top of another. It allows the old one to die. Not to become something better, but to remember what was always there before fear took control. Individuation, as Jung described it, is not perfection. It is wholeness. And to be whole requires looking at what was avoided. The shadow is not evil. It is repressed energy trying to return home. Contained anger, denied sadness, silenced desire, distorted ambition. None of this disappeared. It only hid. And what hides governs silently. There is no illumination while the shadow is rejected. What you call exhaustion does not come from lack. It comes from repression. You tried to move forward while denying the past. You tried to love yourself without touching the scars. But evolution does not happen through escape. It happens through integration. When you stop fighting what you feel and begin to observe, something changes. The brain responds. Fear pathways weaken. Presence pathways strengthen. This is not abstract spirituality. It is neuroplasticity. The heart enters coherence. The field stabilizes. And the universe, which responds to coherence rather than words, begins to reflect this new order. You do not attract what you want. You encounter what resonates with who you are. The ego seeks shine. The soul seeks alignment. The ego wants to prove. The soul wants to integrate. The moment you stop chasing an improved version and allow the authentic version to emerge. Reality responds because authenticity is the most stable frequency there is. The process has clear pillars: the world as mirror, the shadow as liberation, the body as memory, coherence as compass, symbolic death as portal. 5 keys of the same movement, the return to self. And if this resonates, it is not learning, it is remembering. You crossed the descent, touched fear, recognized the masks. Now you stand between chaos and reconstruction. Nothing is out of place. Silence is space. Confusion is expansion. The ego loses control so the soul can assume presence. When darkness becomes conscious, it loses power. And something nameless begins to feel at home within you. Not because the world changed, but because the internal war ceased. The secret was never control. It was trust. Suffering had a function. The wound taught. Loss created space. Collapse was adjustment. The old you could not sustain the frequency of the new. That is why it had to fall. And this collapse was an act of intelligence from the field, not a punishment. Now you understand. What seemed like destiny was you calling yourself back. The future does not wait for you. It manifests when you become. Stop asking, start emitting. Stop seeking, start being. Nothing outside has changed, yet everything is different because you changed. This is individuation, the union of the conscious with the unconscious, of the human with their own totality. Fear may still arise, but now you know who observes. Chaos may return, but you understand its function. You are not falling, you are being shaped. You are not losing, you are releasing. You are not late, you are exactly on the soul's time. This is not an ending, it is a return. And as long as you breathe, this new frequency continues to be emitted. You did not come to seek miracles, you came to remember that you always were one. If this message truly resonated with you, if you felt that quiet inner shift, that sense that your mind is ready for something greater, I left a resource in the pinned comment that goes deeper into this process. I only recommend it for those who feel genuinely ready to accelerate their results, but follow it in your own time. If it calls to you, you'll find it there. If this resonated, understand one thing. What you just experienced is not the beginning of the process, it's the middle. Before the pain, before the collapse, before this inner reorganization, there are clear signals the universe sends quietly, and most people miss them. In the previous video, I explain how the universe prepares you before everything changes, through restlessness, synchronicities, detachment, silence, and dreams. If you're feeling this transition now, that video will make everything connect. It's on your screen right now. Watch it next, not out of curiosity, but because this is where the process truly begins.